Traditionally, the answer to that overwhelming dashboard is pretty straightforward, right? You just investigate everything manually. An alert pops up, you open the logs, you dig for the error, check the server, scour the internet for answers, write a script, test that script, run the fix, document the whole ordeal, and basically just pray it doesn't break again. Honestly, the hard part isn't even the technical knowledge required. It's the staggering, crushing amount of repetitive work. A sysadmin can easily burn hours just searching logs for information that already exists somewhere inside their own infrastructure.
Now let's really look at how this dynamic is completely flipping. We are talking about a massive paradigm shift in how we interact with infrastructure. AI is essentially becoming this new, highly capable assistant layer. So instead of staring blankly at an obscure error code and asking, what does this even mean? You can now ask your assistant, analyze these logs, identify the likely cause, explain the evidence, and suggest the safest next step.
Think about modern infrastructure for a second. It generates absolutely enormous amounts of data. We're talking Windows event logs, Linux logs, application telemetry, network data, SAP logs, cloud data, you name it. Expecting a human being to manually read and parse that sheer volume of telemetry? It's mathematically impossible. And this is exactly where AI steps in as a massive force multiplier. Instead of you scrolling through thousands of lines of text trying to find a needle in a haystack, it instantly highlights the patterns. It flags those repeated authentication failures, the unusual resource consumption, or maybe a service that just keeps restarting. It can spot the configuration change immediately followed by errors or a sudden spike in network latency. But, and this is a big but, AI is just assisting by summarizing telemetry into recognizable patterns. You, as the administrator, still absolutely have to validate that evidence before you even think about making a production change.
We're seeing this exact same transformation when it comes to scripting. I mean, every sysadmin knows the absolute pain of writing the same repetitive scripts over and over. But today, instead of starting from a totally empty editor for PowerShell or Bash, Python, or SQL, you can just describe what you need in plain, natural language. You can literally just tell it, hey, create a PowerShell script that checks these services, records failures, and generates a report. And boom, the AI hands you a highly capable first draft in a matter of seconds. So the crucial point here is what we call the golden rule of AI code. Never, ever blindly copy AI-generated infrastructure code into production. Read it, test it, run it in a controlled, isolated environment first. Double-check the permissions it's asking for and any file modifications it wants to make. Always validate the risks of it deleting or overwriting something important. Because while AI dramatically slashes your scripting time, you, the administrator, remain completely responsible for validating the final result.
Going beyond just scripting, let's think about monitoring across hundreds of systems. In a traditional old-school setup, say a server's CPU spikes. 2 minutes later, memory rises. 5 minutes in, an app slows down. 10 minutes later, users are screaming about errors. Normally, you might get 4 totally separate, disjointed alerts for that. But an AI-assisted monitoring system, it acts like a giant puzzle solver. It connects those separate but related signals from the same deployment into one single investigation. It drastically cuts down the time from that first alert to actually finding the root cause.
And that brings us to the daily grind of user support and IT operations. When a user submits a ticket, AI can step in to classify it, search your internal documentation, and actually execute safe, low-risk remediation. We're talking about the easy stuff: restarting an approved service, clearing out a temporary cache, checking disk space. It handles the routine busy work, which leaves the high-risk, complex actions securely protected behind human approval.
Now, in really complex enterprise environments, this gets even more fascinating. If you've ever touched SAP or warehouse management systems, you know that an IT problem is almost never just an IT problem. An AI-assisted system can correlate a seemingly isolated user report with application logs, SAP transaction info, interface errors, and known incidents all at the exact same time. It connects the dots between a single help desk ticket and broader warehouse operations or purchasing, letting your team resolve enterprise-wide issues so much faster.
But look, with all this amazing capability comes a massive, bright red stop sign: data security. This is absolutely vital. Do not, I repeat, do not dump sensitive infrastructure information into an external AI tool just because it's fast and convenient. Passwords? No way, never. API keys? Never. Private certificates? Absolutely not. Customer information? Only if it perfectly aligns with strictly approved internal policies. Because for enterprise AI to actually function securely in the real world, organizations have to implement ironclad access controls, data protection, auditability, and permission management.
Businesses must know exactly where their production logs are going and who has access to them. At the end of the day, secure AI paired with solid human oversight is what businesses actually need to survive and thrive.
Now, what's really interesting here is where you should actually be focusing your learning. You don't need to go out and master 50 different random AI tools. You really just need these 5 core capabilities: AI-assisted troubleshooting, AI-assisted scripting, AI-powered monitoring, workflow automation using tools like NN, Make, or Power Automate, and finally, AI security, things like permissions and prompt injection. Trust me, mastering these 5 specific skills makes you infinitely more valuable than someone who just knows how to operate one specific piece of software.
And this brilliantly illustrates the true evolution of the system administrator role. We're elevating out of that exhausting, reactive loop of monitor, troubleshoot, fix, repeat. We're moving into a highly strategic role where you're building automated systems. You design, you automate, you monitor, you validate, and you improve. Instead of manually performing the same mind-numbing task 100 times, you build a smart, automated system that does it for you safely. Which brings us to the big elephant in the room, the mindset shift. If you're an IT professional right now, do not fall into the trap of thinking AI is coming for my job. Instead, flip the script. Ask yourself, which parts of my job can AI automate and which parts actually require my human expertise? Organizations are absolutely always going to rely on people who deeply understand the nuts and bolts of networks, servers, security, and complex business processes. When you combine that deep foundational knowledge with AI automation, you literally become the bridge to the AI-driven enterprise.
So the future really belongs to the person who stops manually searching through logs and starts asking the right questions. Can this be automated? Can this be monitored intelligently? Can AI help me diagnose this faster? And most importantly, can we make this safer? Start small. Build just one safe automation this week. Measure the time you save, validate your results, and then rapidly scale your capabilities into the future.